Batman has beaten Superman in a fight. He's beaten god-tier villains. He's outsmarted literal gods. But in 2002, DC gave him an enemy that just watched, said almost nothing, and still nearly destroyed his entire life. Hello, this is your narrator today, and my name is Beyond Infinity. Literally. But you can call me Acharya Ananta. This is the story of Batman Hush. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why comic fans still argue about it over 20 years later. Quick context, it's 2002. DC needs a big Batman story. Not just big. They need something that makes people stop in a comic shop. So they do something smart. They bring in Jim Lee, who was arguably the biggest comic artist in the world at the time, and give him Batman for the first time. Then they pair him with Jeff Loeb, a writer who already understood the secret to a great Batman story. It's never really about the villain. It's about Bruce. Put those two together, and you get 12 issues that comic fans still put on Where Should I Start with Batman recommendation lists today. Here's the setup, and don't worry, I'm keeping this spoiler-free. Someone is controlling Gotham, quietly. They're not blowing things up themselves, they're pulling the strings behind Gotham's villains. Batman doesn't know who, he doesn't know why, and he has no idea how close to home this mystery is about to become. That's the entire engine of the story, a shadow moving the pieces while Batman spends the whole time trying to catch up. It's a simple premise, but it works because of who gets dragged into it. Picture this. Batman drops into Gotham's sewers searching for answers. Down there waits Killer Croc, not the guy wearing scales, the monster. He doesn't give a speech, he simply attacks, and for a moment, you genuinely believe Batman might lose. Cut to a greenhouse. Poison Ivy sits calmly, almost bored, speaking to Batman as if she already knows how everything ends. Somehow that's even scarier than screaming. Cut again. A chessboard. Ra's al Ghul moves another piece without even looking up. It's as if Batman has stepped into a game that began long before he arrived. Then comes the Riddler. Not the goofy version making terrible riddles. This one is genuinely brilliant. The kind of intelligence that makes you stop and wonder, could he be the one behind everything? And naturally, the Joker appears. Because Gotham apparently has a legal requirement that Joker must eventually make everyone's day dramatically worse. Every page he's on feels unpredictable. Every scene somehow becomes more dangerous. By the halfway point, you've practically met Batman's entire rogues gallery. Even if you've never read a Batman comic before, Hush introduces every major villain naturally, simply by showing how they operate. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this so far, hit the like button. It costs you nothing, and it tells me exactly what kinds of comic stories you want to see more of. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because once we jump back into the story, you're probably going to forget. Trust me, the rest is worth staying for. Now here's the part people actually remember years later. Not the villains, Bruce and Selina, Batman and Catwoman. For decades they danced around each other, rooftop meetings, playful flirting, unfinished feelings. Hush is the story that finally allows that relationship to breathe. There's one scene, I won't spoil it, but Batman removes the mask. Literally. For one brief moment, the comic forgets about conspiracies, monsters, and mastermind villains. It's simply two people finally being honest with each other. Imagine Bruce standing on a Gotham rooftop. The wind cuts through the silence. The city stretches beneath him. And after spending years hiding, he finally stops pretending. That quiet moment lands harder than any explosion in the book, because everything else is loud. This scene isn't, and that's exactly why people still remember it. Now let's talk about why this comic looks so incredible. Because honestly, the artwork might be the real star. Jim Lee draws Batman like an absolute force of nature. Every punch feels heavy. Every movement feels powerful. Catwoman moves with elegance that never feels exaggerated. And Joker, something about him always looks slightly wrong. Slightly stretched. Slightly unnatural. Even before he speaks. Then Scott Williams comes in with the inks. His shadows are sharp, clean, almost carved into the page. And those shadows aren't just stylish, they're hiding things, which perfectly matches what this entire story is about, secrets hidden in darkness. Back then, many comics leaned toward rough, sketch-like artwork. Hush went in the opposite direction. Cleaner, bigger, more cinematic. almost like every page could become a movie poster. That visual style became hugely influential. You can still see its fingerprints across Batman comics and films today. Now, I want to be fair. I'm not going to pretend this comic is flawless. The mystery itself, who's behind everything and why, is still debated by fans today. Some people think the reveal is brilliant, that the clues were quietly there all along. Others feel the ending doesn't completely live up to everything that came before it. I'm not taking sides, mainly because explaining why would spoil the entire story. But here's what's interesting. Even people who dislike the ending usually agree on one thing. The journey is absolutely worth it. The artwork, the characters, the emotional moments. None of that depends on whether you love the final reveal. That's surprisingly rare. Most mysteries succeed or fail entirely because of their ending. Batman Hush survives even when people disagree about its ending. That says a lot. So what did Batman Hush actually accomplish? It helped establish Jim Lee as the Batman artist for an entire generation. He eventually went on to help lead DC Comics, and a huge part of that journey started here. The comic also redefined Batman and Catwoman's relationship. Many writers who came afterward built on what Hush created. Even today, when someone asks, "I've never read Batman before, where should I begin?" This comic is still one of the most common answers. Not because it's Batman's darkest story, not because it's the most complex, but because it's welcoming. 12 issues, fantastic artwork, nearly every iconic character appears, and beneath all the action sits a surprisingly emotional story. There was also a 2019 animated movie adaptation if you want the quicker version. Although most fans agree the comic remains the better experience, especially because it gives Bruce and Selina's relationship much more room to grow. At the end of the day, people don't remember Batman Hush as the smartest mystery ever written. They remember it as the moment Batman comics felt like a major event again. Every villain gets their moment. The artwork alone is worth experiencing, and beneath all the action lies a quiet story about a man who spent his entire life pushing people away, finally allowing someone to get close. If you haven't read Batman Hush, read it. Just don't go in expecting the greatest twist ever written. Go in for the journey.